All right, let's get it going, man. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 93. I am your host, Supreme King, as always, and joined with me is my co-host, and his name is.
It's your guy Obesus.
How you doing today, man? How you
I'm a
like
little
the
sad.
rainy weather? Oh,
For
what?
one, rainy weather.
Okay,
That's sad. And
that's
then I
sad.
can't find my copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now I have
You,
to
are,
buy it.
if I remember correctly, you was one of the people who would keep the little cartridge with all the other like in the little like
Yeah.
just
And
no. See,
every other game is in there except
uh,
for Mario Kart
I
8 Deluxe.
can't do that, man. I will be thinking that like it will fall somewhere and it will just disappear because it's so tiny. I have them all
Would.
in their
Yep.
regular cases. I can't do it like that
Oh
because
no,
something
I
like
have
that
the
would
little
happen.
collection case, and every other game is securely in there. Not Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah. I have all mine in their red cases. Like I think one game always remains in the Switch at all time, but
Yep.
like
Same.
typically everything else is in them cases because they're just such small cartridges. I will feel so subconscious about it. That's why when I was buying like 3DS games from like GameStop or whoever, like
Uh,
and they wouldn't give me a case with it if I bought it online, I would be mad because it's like when it's loose like that, you just lose it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you would.
well, I
Um
did.
yeah, see, and I still have I'm supposed to give you like a what am I supposed to give you? Metroid something on 3DS. One of the Metroid games I was supposed to give you next time we link up. I think I even put that one in the red case of like one of the Switch Metroid games that I bought.
Oh,
Just
okay.
because I didn't get the case yet and I'm like I don't want or I got most of the case from off eBay, but not I didn't get the second case. Like your version I don't have the second case for, right? Cuz
Okay.
for anybody out there who don't know, I accidentally bought the game twice trying to get all the cases and stuff because GameStop didn't give me a case with the actual card. I thought they would give me at least a blank case. I wasn't expecting the manual and all that. But they didn't give me a case at all. They just gave it to me in a loose leaf envelope. I'm like, "What? Excuse me? Like where's the case?" And my co-host was trying to explain to me how like a lot of people give rid of cases. I'm like, listen, I need the case though. I need a case. It didn't have to be the case. I
And
felt like they could have gave me a case, but they didn't. So I was getting
it's because
the
the Switch or Nintendo usually tries to also advertise those carrying pouches.
yeah,
So a lot of people use the carrying pouch, me included, and then the case is just taking up space, so they get rid of it.
yeah. But for everybody out there, welcome to the show. I hope it's not too negative today, but I'm obviously going to address some of this negative Xbox news. Co-host is going to address some of it as well, and some we're going to
It's gonna
talk
be
about
negative.
PlayStation about a couple of things too. And then we got other stuff, more positive stuff. Not everything else is going to be negative. I think there's going to be some cool stuff later on that some people might be interested in. So stick around for that. Hot topic right now is Xbox shutting down, or Bethesda within Xbox, taking down 4 studios within that publisher, underneath that wing of Xbox. So we're talking about, just to be in detail, the 4 studios was the main one, Tango Gameworks, which
Yep.
I'm gonna have an issue with in a second. Tango Gameworks is gone. Arcane Austin, which was the developers for Redfall, the disaster known as Redfall, and there's more details going on with Redfall that we're going to get to in just a second. And then we've all heard about this stuff. Alpha Dog Studios, and then Roundhouses, basically. For Bethesda Studios that shut down under the all-powerful Microsoft. And I'm a little upset because for me, I feel now obviously I'm a armchair analyst like everybody else. I have no real affiliation with any corporation that deals with anything behind the scenes or nothing. I'm calling it how I see it. So somebody might listen to me and be like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about," and that's fine. I'm looking at it from the perspective of a customer, and every other week for the past couple months, I think we've talked about studios closing down and studios laying off hundreds or thousands of people within the studio, right? And this has come from a lot of the industry, across gaming in general. Funny enough, everybody except Nintendo. I don't think we've ever had to report on Nintendo firing anybody.
No, they
When it
just
comes,
sue people.
yeah, with Nintendo, it's like, okay, they'll sue somebody, but with like everybody else is like, well, we gotta like close studios down, or Bungie hanging on by a thread when it shouldn't be, that type of thing. Um, where this is a little bit more unique. Like, I'm not gonna like make it seem like it's worse because it's Xbox per se, because I know a lot of people, when Xbox's name is attached to it, like they get extra heat. But the problem with this particular situation for me is, at the same time of all this happening, or just before all this happened, Microsoft as a company was just crowned king of the world, basically. They just crossed a net worth of like $3 trillion. It's like 3 trillion. They were 2 trillion forever. Now they're three. They passed Apple, right? How many companies out here can say they passed Apple? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was Amazon that's ahead of them, but they're obviously in the top five, period. Like top five of who runs this world if God didn't exist, basically. Right? So it's like, you have the ability to provide jobs, and you have the ability to, keep things going with, probably for decades. Um it's just, I'm not understanding in general, and I don't want to be too long when I'm gonna let you talk. It's just, all I want to know as a fan or a customer, and I think even the PlayStation audience might actually, because there's been people who do the console war thing. I think this is a very unique situation where, let's ignore the console war for a second, because how does the PlayStation audience benefit from this, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, Hi-Fi Rush was one of the games that was like going multi-plat. We watched the internet die 2 months ago over this, right?
Yep.
They went crazy. So many people lost their reputations overnight. If anybody's like hardcore, like keeping up with the gaming spaces, all you had to do is look at Twitter and you've seen it, right? You see just the meltdowns and everybody like just losing sleep over this. But like, if a game goes multiplat and it's supposed to be one of the better ones, obviously the Xbox side will want to keep it off PlayStation, which made some sense. But then it's like, well, how does it benefit Xbox or PlayStation if you shut the studio down? Right? Nobody benefits from that. Nobody benefits from that. Or Nintendo as well, because I guess Hi-Fi Rush went to Nintendo. So like how do you benefit? Nobody benefits from that. It's just gone. you know um I'm gonna say, I got one big question that I wish I almost would pay money to get an real Xbox person to answer this, like somebody who's like in the board meetings and stuff. But I want to set it up to say this: like, out of everything here, Hi-Fi Rush is obviously going to be the best example of this. You remember, I got to use this example for anybody out there who's hardcore cultured wrestling fans. 2011 Zack Ryder, right? He did exactly what he was supposed to do, right? He was supposed to get himself over, right? For anybody who understands what that means, he was supposed to get himself popular so that he can be an asset to the company at the time, a valuable on-air personality, basically, right? And in the middle of that, he was like almost in a way forced back down, right? Because he was almost overshadowing people who
He got too popular, and the powers that be was like, we don't like that.
right. Now, I don't think that that's exactly what happened with Hi-Fi Rush is out of all of this, but Hi-Fi Rush was a game that got a resurgence in popularity because it was about to be known as an Xbox game that was going to be multi-platform, a first-party studio, right? But even before that, it did what it was supposed to do. It was hype. It was hyped up. Once it was shadow dropped, I think January 2023. Very similar to Power World, but not at the level of Power World. I still think Power World was a little bit higher. That one
Power
was
World
just,
also wasn't shadow dropped.
yes, Power World just kind of came
They
out.
had advertisements since like 2017.
Right, but
Hi-Fi
like,
Rush literally was a shadow drop.
yeah, Hi-Fi Rush was like surprise. Maybe some insiders here or there knew about it, but it was just like surprise, right? And then it had its Twitter fame for a few weeks because it was a shadow drop, so everybody kind of, not Twitter, Twitch. Everybody hopped on it on Twitch for a second, right? And then people talked about it on Twitter too, because that was a good show. That it was an Xbox Direct show, and then it was like, bam, here's a game. It comes out in 2 hours. Nobody had enough time to try to be negative about it, right? And then next thing you know, the game was rated 9 plus out of 10. It was considered a must play. I guess a year later, it went from that to be like a 9.5 or more because of like the DualSense or something, which is, I think, was kind of tongue in cheek humor in a way. But it officially got a slightly higher rating for DualSense features, right? And then I remember there was reports about the game running slightly better on the PS5 than the Series X. It was all console war news basically, right? Because it didn't really, it was just, however, it was like maybe like half a second better or something. I don't know. It was not that much better, but it was basically, it was getting praise, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, it went to the award show and got just as many nominations as Alan Wake 2. It didn't win everything, but it got way more nominations than Starfield, right? It was the most positive Xbox game going into the award show, where Starfield was like, it got like a nominated for like literally one award and just that was it, right? So the game had a positive reception, technically twice. And we just got done talking about how Xbox games was topping. I didn't really talk about it too much here, but the news last month was that the Xbox games was on top of the PlayStation charts, right? And that was technically before Stellar Blade came out. That was a thing. Stellar Blade kind of like stopped that news basically. But you know, the 4 games as a collective was basically doing better than the Final Fantasy Rebirth and Rise of the Ronin, which was supposed to be 2 big AAA $70 games, right? And for some reason, in a moment's time, everybody wanted to play Sea of Thieves, which was strange, right? But it was just like, okay, it topped somebody's chart, right? It was nominated for, you know, different award shows, or different awards at the award show. And then on top of that, it was basically a positive reception. It wasn't like how Redfall was. It was pretty much positive across the board. At one point, it seemed like it went away until all of a sudden it was announced to be multi-plat. Then everybody wanted to play it again, right? It was like the biggest news for such a long period. And then now you shut the studio down. And so I say all that to ask, I gotta ask the question out there for anybody. I don't care if you have, you know, a dummy troll account or something. I don't want you to troll in the comment section, but like, if you can't say your official name, but you out here listening to podcasts and stuff, I would just want to know, what is the target metrics or number or sale, or what was the goal that this game and the rest of Xbox or whatever's going on over there that did not meet the quota, they did not meet the mark? Because I feel like with Tango Studios and Hi-Fi Rush, like particularly, like, what else could it have done? You know what I mean? It reminds me of Zack Ryder. It's like, well, what else could he have done? in his position in that spot during that time frame when John Cena was getting ready to go 1-on-1 with The Rock and stuff. It was only so high he can climb. You would CM Punk doing his pipe bomb and everything. Isn't that the timeline? It's like, what more could Hi-Fi Rush have done? Because it was still in the middle of this big year of releases: Tears of the Kingdom, right? Spider-Man 2, Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy. No matter how much the industry tried to act like it didn't exist, right? What else could Hi-Fi Rush have done? Really though, there would have been nothing else it did exactly the highest it literally could have done, period. And it reminds me also of like Forspoken, where like with Forspoken, even a bunch of people trashing it, including myself, you shut the studio down like 1 month out. You didn't give it a chance to actually even make sales if it was going to make sales. What sales was you going to get in 30 days, basically, right? It's like, what was the point of making any of the Xbox games multi-plat to begin with if you're going to shut the studio down 2 months later? It went multi-plat in January, right? Or was it February? I forgot. Somewhere in that time frame. It's like, how much extra sales would you have gotten from the PlayStation side or Nintendo sides in 2 months? Like, what was you expecting? That's what I'm trying to figure out, really. I'm not understanding what it is, the goal, the metric, the target that they're looking for. That's just me. I'll let you talk. I went too long. Go ahead.
All right. I feel like this was a really bad thing to happen. So, on to your point where you were saying like, what else could have Hi-Fi Rush done? Nothing. Because they shouldn't have had to have done anything. So like looking
Right.
them up, like Arcane Austin, it sucks that their legacy goes out with Redfall, with how poor that did. Which
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, there was promised DLC that has now been canceled, even though people pre-ordered a version that was supposed to come with DLC. So now they have to do something else because they're like they will try to make it good on DLC. Like so give them something else back. Here's the thing with that type of stuff. When I played one of the WWE games and they removed the DLC character out of it, they said to make up for it, they gave us some like my superstar cards for the my faction mode, which is something I don't play. So it's like
Right.
I paid for a character and then instead I got something that I wasn't going to use. So who knows what they're going to get for this DLC that they were supposed to get, but it is kind of messed up that now they don't even get that. And I wonder if there's some sort of little lawsuit thing that they can do, or is there an asterisk next to the DLC being saying subject to change? Because if they don't have that, then I would look into it because I feel like that's messed up. Now, with that said, though, Arcane Austin, uh, they also worked on. They made the first Dishonored game, which was like a 9 out of 10,
Yeah.
considered an A+. And they worked on Prey, which also apparently like it did really well. I remember hearing
Yes.
positive things about it.
Yes.
Tango, what was her name? Tango.
So Tango
GameWorks.
GameWorks
Yeah,
before Hi-Fi Rush, they're mainly
they did.
known for Evil Within 1 and 2.
Which two was fantastically received. They
Yeah.
also did Ghostwire Tokyo, uh, the PlayStation game, right? And then they
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush, 9 out of 10, and so they were releasing good stuff. Like it was good to great. And Arcade Austin had one bad game. Uh, and let's think about it. This bad game, Arcade was known for these great first-person single-player games, and it felt like they were forced to make a multiplayer game. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't go well because they were out of their element, and immediately they don't get to make nothing else anymore. They've been shut down. And I saw
Yeah.
the post, and I think this sums it up, which is what's bothering me the most about this, with the studios getting shut down. And like we said, for other ones where it's like, okay, you made one bad game, and it's like now you get shut down instead of being able to redeem yourself. Or we talked about it before, where we said how many of a game series was the first one not good? right? And
Right. Because I
we
think we
don't
made
get
a lot of comparisons to like Borderlands and stuff. We were
yep,
talking about the first one. Um, uh,
Witcher and all of the even Helldivers 1. But this post that somebody did, it was a tweet, and I think that sums it up. It says things that will no longer keep you safe in the video game industry, and it was having a good game, a profitable game, a viral game, a big publisher, a small publisher, a big team, a small team, a rich parent company, an ethical parent company, experience or long hours and sacrifice. Right? It's like all
yeah,
of these things that should
it
like
don't matter
when you
really.
go oh, we had to cut them because they were a big team. Well, what about the small team? Oh, well, we had to cut them as well because we need to make sure we're making games that are viral and profitable. Well, this game was nothing but a success. It made money, and the only reason why I probably didn't make more money is because you chose to shadow drop it instead of pre-advertise it when it first came out. But then it got put on the other system and blew up again. So everything was looking great. And it's I can't wait to see what they make next. And it's oh, they make nothing. They're gone.
Yeah,
Why?
so because one of the things I don't understand about it too is well, would you have wanted to have you don't think you would want to have a sequel to something that is successful at least?
So,
Um,
or just at least see what they come up with next.
yeah, or just another creative project, because I wouldn't say this is in the same category of It Takes Two. It's just it's what I mean by that is it has a uniqueness to it where it was his own thing in the world of shooters, walking simulators, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Fighting clones and stuff. There was it even seemed like for a second we was about to have a bunch of Super Smash Bros. Clones too, right?
Yep.
And it was his own thing. It kind of looked like Jet Set Radio just for the art style, but it was his own thing, and it was unique from everything else. It's just here's a rhythm action platformer kind of thing. You don't typically see that. You know what I'm saying? Short and sweet. You just play it real quick. Cool game. It looks like some of the indie stuff that I follow, but it was backed by a major brand. And it literally did everything it was supposed to do.
Yeah. At this
Um,
point, for every studio, when they're about to make something, it feels like any sort of bigger name going, we want to help you or buy you or support you, you almost want to be nah, we're good. We're just gonna release it the way we release it and take
yeah,
our time the way we want it. And we're gonna because it's the moment you can take it up, it's yeah, we own you, we own this name, and you're fired.
I don't think it's 100% of Phil Spencer. You point your finger at Phil Spencer. I know a lot of people want to right now because of who he is in the industry. Wouldn't make sense, but I think Todd Howard is somebody also to point fingers at a little bit. This is the guy who is head of Bethesda, just under
Yeah.
Xbox Bethesda. Um, a lot of people claim I've heard a lot of posts about him basically being a liar, always saying, hyping people up about certain games and stuff, which a lot of people use Starfield as an example of this, where it's the game's going to be so big, revolutionary, and then it's kind of it's not as big as people thought it would be. It's more dependent on what the community would do with mods later on. And that's kind of how Starfield is with all of his gazillion planets or whatever, how they're vastly empty. And people think that he's probably looking at it like the Skyrim approach in a way, where it's oh, just let the fans do it. They've been doing it for so long with Skyrim anyway, right? He might be somewhat to blame here, because I remember the reports before was that Xbox backing Bethesda, when they did, allow projects like Hi-Fi Rush to continue to be funded and put out ultimately, because they were technically kind of just like how the rest of the industry is, where they were probably going to have to close down some studios if they weren't acquired by Microsoft. But that was then, and this is now. We're talking about 2020, 2021. And that was more like we didn't have concrete evidence of what I just said. Now we kind of do because they just did it. But the problem here is that, well, you do have the funding. You do have the mega corporation that has the software, the computer software that practically runs the world, right? Like you do have this mega conglomerate behind you where it's a head scratcher in the gaming space because you could do something like this, but just 1 year ago, we're fighting in court over a game that's probably is too big for his own good, Call of Duty, right? We're fighting so much over this for so long. It was the acquisition that took way too long. Way too many people had something to say about it. Way too many politicians and all these other heads that have no affiliation with gaming whatsoever was involved in this. And the deal finally did technically go through. This was like a $70 billion deal, right? It's like, when you really sit here and think about it, well, Call of Duty Activision would have probably simplified a little bit, just like how the industry is. But I'm pretty sure Call of Duty would have still kept going. And they wasn't doing too much of anything else anyway, right? But the money that you spent for gaining Call of Duty just to come out with these like good PR deals where it's like, let's give everybody 10-year deals to have Call of Duty, right? So it's like, well, what was the point anyway? Like, there's no way Hi-Fi Rush or any of the other games that would have been under these studios would have even come up to half of that, right? It was never going to produce $1 billion, right? It's not GTA. So, but you would have, like, the money that you need some of these games to make, because I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It's like a corporation wants to make money. Their bottom line is money. They'll go out there and pretend to be your friend, right? We kind of know it, but it feels good to have them be like, hey, it's Uncle Phil, or hey, it's like the good guy. That guy is the cool guy. He cares about the fans. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they want to make money, right? Their corporation is Microsoft. They've been here forever. It's just, the thing is, you're actively spending more than what any of these studios could have possibly made. So, like, what would have been the reason to get rid of them? What's the budget for them that's not going to turn into another acquisition later on? It's like, there's no way they could pull off another acquisition right now. It's not even the like Federal Trade Commission. It's like, I don't think even the Xbox side would approve of it. You know what I'm saying? No matter who we can think of, because it's like, everybody would look at them sideways like, well, you just gonna shut them down anyway. They probably would have they could have bounced back without you. That's gonna be the perception. Like, their reputation has been floundering for so long, because if it wasn't for like certain bad decisions and stuff, they would probably be doing just fine. It's just the things that's bad on Xbox side is like, you shouldn't have to have these bad things happen, because you should, in theory, have the money. You should, in theory, be just sitting on money, right? Like, just a lot of it, like way more than normal. You know what I mean? Like, Square Enix doesn't have that same type of safety net, right? So when they're in trouble, they're actually in trouble. You know, the Playdate. We talked about the Playdate a bunch of times. If the Playdate, if somebody steals, you know, I forgot what it was, like $500,000 or something. Like, if somebody steals $40,000 worth of Playdates, or what was it? I don't know. But that can hurt them. That can really hurt them. If somebody steals a truckload of like any Microsoft product, it's like, okay, it's like, that was bad. Somebody go investigate it. But it's like who's batting an eye over that? Maybe you'd be mad at one truck driver, but who's batting an eye over that, right? Like, it's not the same. It's not the same as like all the other studios when they lost people and stuff. It's like, it sucks, but they don't have, like, name me one studio that's worth $3 trillion. Like, it's not there, you know? And once, like, Microsoft practically has the monopoly in Windows alone, in Microsoft Word alone, Microsoft Office alone, that alone will fund everything, like everything, right? Like I'm not. I understand. Like I'm talking armchair analyst, somebody somewhere with $1 billion degree could tell me I'm all wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, clearly, it could fund something, and they've done it. They've already done it. They bought Call of Duty Activision with a whole list of extra stuff. Crash, Spyro, Tony Hawk, a whole bunch of other stuff. Guilty, what is it called? Guitar Hero from the past. A whole bunch of stuff, right? And then they'll do something like that, and it sounds exciting, like, oh, you're gonna really build a roster, and then you just have head scratching moments where it's like, okay, you kind of have a roster here, but then you handpicking some of them to just be given away, and it's like, well, why? And it's like, oh, they need the sales. I was like, do they really need the sales? I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I really just want to know. The bottom line is, what is the target metric that they're looking for that they're not getting? Because they're very transparent about a lot of other things. They send Phil out there on all these interviews so often. It's like the dude does more PR interviews than anything else. I feel like this is the one time where I'm like, you might owe us an explanation here. We kind of just like show us. You could probably take a magic marker and bleep out a couple lines here and there, maybe some account numbers here and there, but we kind of need to see this business plan at this point.
We want Fortnite money. We want you guys to bring in enough money. You guys are projected to not bring in enough money. So, shut down a few studios so our projections will go up. You get to choose who to shut down. So then they go through and go, okay, who are the studios that probably won't make a Fortnite? And then they close them. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like,
you might be right.
The logic is just that, like, this studio, right? Like, you tried to make a multiplayer game, it didn't work, and let's be honest, as much as like we love all of your like the other stuff, there's still an Arcade Leon, right? The other one that could still produce the single player stuff.
That's the one doing Blade, right? Yeah. They're doing Blade. Okay.
And this other one couldn't make the multiplayer game that we wanted. And if we try to release another game under them, people are going to be like, is it like Redfall, which ain't going to go well, so gone. For the other studio, yeah, you did great with Hi-Fi Rush. That's awesome. We're proud of you. But we think you hit your ceiling. Gone. Plus, you didn't make the Fortnite money off of
it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I took a water break. But
that's it seems like, and again, I'm not even saying this is like Phil Spencer or like any of those people. It's the high up investors who don't know how gaming works or anything like that.
Yeah, because it's
they're just like, it did not make this money. Close it down.
Yeah, because the industry was doing this for a while. We were laying off people what seemed to be every week. Multiple companies was laying off people every week, and we were getting to the point where that kind of took over news for a second. It was almost like who's getting fired more than what's coming out, what trailer came out. Somewhere in the middle of that, we got a GTA 6 trailer, which kind of like broke the internet for a minute. And then we went right back to just laying off people again, right? And the thing about it to me, though, is just what makes this different is that everybody else who was laying off people, they're not acquiring anybody at the same time. You know, they're not doing that, and they don't have this rumored handheld coming out, you know, or another Xbox system that's like white and all digital and all this other stuff. Like they'll have these like somewhat positive news and rumors and then like bad stuff at the same time, but it does not add up with them. Like when I was criticizing the rumors of them being fully multi-plat initially, I criticized it because it didn't add up. Like it just, certain things didn't make sense to me. And then later on, Even with what they decided to do, it still didn't make a lot of sense to me because um, at the end of the day, they still took four games: Grounded, Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, and Pentiment. Right? They took these four games, they put them on PlayStation and Nintendo. Maybe Nintendo didn't get everything. Like I don't know if they got Hi-Fi Rush. Maybe you can correct me on that. I think I said that earlier. That might not be correct. But the thing is, Xbox did it.
Nintendo did not.
Okay. Okay. So that's fine. Thank you for the correction. It's just when you really think about it, you would have to ask, well, what was the purpose of doing the four games on the other platform, right? Hi-Fi Rush was the headliner of it. Even though Sea of Thieves was the one that kind of like I think made the most sales, Hi-Fi Rush was like that's a this generation game that was like a deemed must play one, right? When you really think about it, it's like did it have enough time to even make the sales on the PlayStation Store? You gave it 2 months to 3 months, right? 2.5 months, and then you took the studio down, right? It's
Yep.
like you gave them enough time to port it, and then it was gone. And I'm like, if this is real Microsoft, I don't believe that you're making these decisions. Well, maybe you are like overnight, like you just wake up one day, like, you know what, let's just do this. Why not? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you would have to have some sort of a business plan that stretches a little bit longer, years in advance a little bit. Because even with, like, Halo Infinite was supposed to power Game Pass for a really long time. It wasn't going to be forever, but Infinite, as in 10 years, I believe, was their plan for it. It was supposed to regularly come out with stuff, but 343 just couldn't do it. They just could not do it for Halo, and it took them a long time with the co-op and all that stuff. And I think they're more on their feet now, but the damage was done. It is what it is. For the consumer, is like we just play stuff and we play the next hottest thing. Like no matter how good Halo is, there's a certain audience that wants to play Stellar Blade that ain't got nothing to do with Souls games. It's just like you wouldn't be able to beat that if people was just gonna be creeps all day. You just wouldn't beat it. You know what I mean? It's like, can you really blame another game that much? It had to compete with basically Corn, right? Like any game that would have came out with it, like Corn's gonna beat everything. It's just because that's the reality that we're in, right? But do you just say, well, we got to shut down the whole studio because it couldn't make the sales because of X, Y, Z? It's like you got to really think about it for a second. It's like, how far can it go? You know, but with Hi-Fi Rush and these Xbox studios, what grinds my gears about it is that they're rich. They're richer than ever. They're richer than ever before. They got crowned like better than Apple or something recently. I just remember, I don't know what the headline was exactly, but I think they just said they surpassed Apple and they're worth over 3 trillion. That was a headline at some point late last year, right? And then we have all this other stuff. The thing that I just want to say is it feels almost like you gave somebody a stock market account and they took, instead of diversifying their portfolio, they took everything that they probably had into one stock, and the stock didn't even plummet. It's just, it didn't go from like 1,000 to 1,000,000 in 2 months.
Yep.
That's how it sounds. It just seems like that seems so elementary though, you know? It's like, but aren't we still talking about a company that's worth everything? Like I'm not understanding at all. I really want to know, what is this metric that they're looking for? Because it's not realistic. And they can't blame their own studios for it, because we've seen the same kind of things happen with like a lot of third party things. Like sometimes games just don't do as good for X, Y, and Z reason. Jedi um Survivor, right? It came out bad. It's a little bit better now, but it started off bad, right? It was virtually unplayable on PC, and it was just not optimized as good as it could have been, right? But that doesn't like at the end of the day though, there's like a Star Wars cult like following when it comes to just the name alone. The cosplays are like crazy, right? So many people with just like full blown tattoos on their body of that. So much lore, so much fan made stories, so many other like books and everything that just was never even in the movies and stuff, right? And then Disney came and tried to like do so much extra stuff, and it's like the name Star Wars is huge, but the game itself, the latest game, was still only going to do so good just because it was not a complete polished product from the get-go, right? And everybody who's a Star Wars fan don't necessarily play video games. You know what I'm saying? Star Wars as a name stretches all the way back before I was even born, right? How many of those people go like the original actor who played Darth Vader? You think he's gonna pick up a controller? You think people who's a fan of him, the same way like a whole generation was a fan of like the new Anakin, like you think they're gonna pick up controllers? They're not gonna pick up controllers. Anybody who was in the like Chewbacca era with like Layla and the hair and everything like that, like ain't nobody, none of them. Yeah, my bad. Like nobody's gonna pick up a controller. What real Indiana like Indiana Jones is up next, right? What real Indiana Jones fan is waiting for this game? You know how old that movie is, right? You know what I'm saying? The same thing with like RoboCop and stuff. It was like just because that had a big following in the movie sphere doesn't mean it's going to translate to video games across the board. Like imagine like RoboCop, for example, is like somebody's a big fan of RoboCop. It's like I don't expect them to all of a sudden go out and buy a system to play that game when they don't play games and they're like 45, right? Your average person who's a RoboCop fan is like late 30s, 40s, basically. Right?
Yeah.
It's just I'm just saying
already a gamer. They're not going to just be one for that.
Yeah, it's I don't know what their metric is. I don't know what they're expecting, but they're not going to get what they're looking for. Blade is another one. Wesley Snipes. When was he Blade? Like you talking about?
Albeit, I think this Blade game is supposed to go with the TV show that seems like it's never coming out. But still.
But yeah, it's like okay, it's got some hype, and there will be enough people who play it, but it's not going to be the entire audience that watched the Wesley Snipes Blade movies. You know what I'm saying? But I feel as if these people get in these boardrooms and they fully believe that it's going to translate like that in real time in 2024, 2025 for a movie that came out in the early 2000s, late 90s, late 80s, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that game that just came out, that first movie was 1973, I think, or 70, somewhere in the early 70s. Who, when that movie was at its prime, is like all the way in 2024 is like, I'm got to go buy a system so I can play that.
Right.
They're grandmas and grandpas at this point. No disrespect. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life. But it's like the audience is not the same. I don't know what they're thinking. You know what I mean? Because we're doing that a lot right now with remakes. We're going to get a bunch of remakes or a bunch of classics from like PS1, PS2, all of that stuff. And we're remaking them, right? We're remaking them every year now. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's a different audience. For a lot of these people, this is their first time playing a game. The remakes is like for like 10% of today's audience, you know? So I don't know. That's just for everybody else. I don't think that has too much to do with like Hi-Fi Rush. It's just in general. It's just like when you think of the board meetings and stuff, it's like, what exactly are you expecting? That's all I really want to know. because it just don't add up. It just does not add up at all. It's almost like what WWE was probably thinking when they put Goldberg and Undertaker in a match with each other. It's like on paper, it's like, yo, this is about to be Goldberg versus Undertaker. It ended up being like one of the worst matches of both of their careers. Right? In real time, it was crazy. Yeah, it's just, I just don't get it. We talked about this long enough. There's some other stuff I wanted to say about Xbox. Apparently, Starfield was so Starfield was 30 FPS on the console side. Is going to get some updates where it's going to be a 40 FPS patch and a 60 FPS patch with different fidelities with that. It's really just going to be for the Series X. Don't expect too much with the little white system, the Series S, but the X is going to catch up to your standard PC, not really a high-end PC, but just standard PC, right? Finally, right, almost 2/3 of after the release, 2/3 of a year later. But yeah, they're finally going to do that. I actually don't have anything else that's positive from Xbox. Yeah, I thought this was not going to go too long. Luckily it is, but yeah, the industry got to get it together. I think the one thing that Xbox needs to understand, Microsoft needs to understand, is this generation as a whole, you kind of got to accept the fact that you're just not going to make money. It's kind of one of those things. It's like this was the generation where they needed to be focused on rebuilding their reputation, and then the next generation was where they would go head to head with PlayStation. That was at least me thinking long term, and I think a lot of people probably think long term. That's probably the idea that they should have went with, but they're trying to make a profit immediately, and this was just not their generation to make a profit immediately, because their messaging is all over the place. Literally, people don't even know if they should even get the system anymore, because you don't even know where the games are going to end up. People was already, before this happened, the headline news was actually Xbox was going to reveal more games to go to PlayStation at their June show that's supposed to come up in a month from now. And everybody was going to run through the same reports that they were saying before. Starfield, Indiana Jones, and everything else. They're just running with it now. But you got to argue that that's Xbox's fault, because they put the little games on the other platforms, and it's like, that's your fault. You did that. Your reputation is up and down every other couple months, and at the same time, their audience is confused. They don't know how to handle your product. They just don't know. You give too many people too many options, they're going to feel overwhelmed. They're going to be confused. They're just going to go with what they know. They're not going to make the decision to jump like that, even if they have the resources and stuff. It's just, that's just not how everybody works. It's like, sometimes you don't want an all you can eat thing. You just want the best steak. You just want the best set of ribs. And they're not really, they're kind of trying to give you a buffet in a way. I think that's what they're doing. But then if you don't get the item right then and there, it's like here's a buffet. I think this, I'm getting this like immediately as I'm saying it. I think this is like a good analogy for Xbox. You go into Xbox, right? They have a buffet, right? It's all you can eat. You know you're going to go back for a second plate, but everything that you got on your first plate, okay, we'll provide more for you, but everything you did not get on your first plate, we're going to throw that out. So when you're going back for your second plate, it's no longer there. It's like, well, that's what I was going back for. It was like, well, you should have went for it immediately, because we don't know if you want it. And it's like, it's all you can eat. I'm coming back later, aka Game Pass. What are you doing, Microsoft? I don't understand, bro. I don't understand. Any last words on this? You want to move on? Did that take too long? I don't understand. We're gonna get to everything else. Let me just do the middle of the road stuff. On a positive note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to my rant. I took it way too long, but I appreciate it. I didn't want to make this type of video a solo video. I know I've been promising solo videos, I'm gonna address a couple of that right now. A couple things about that right now, but this would have been negative. It would have been too negative. I don't want to make a solo vid, my first solo vid back, and I'm negative. But let's focus on the positive real quick. Epic Games. I always talk about Epic Games. Unofficial sponsor. They never paid us a dime. We highlight a couple stuff just for free. Everybody loves free 99. Except Microsoft probably. I don't know what's happening over there, but at least Epic ain't shut nobody down yet. I have not heard. Has Epic shut anybody down? Maybe they did. I don't know. Not on the hard. Yeah, Fortnite. I don't know. I feel like maybe Fortnite money is higher than Call of Duty money at the moment. I guess I don't know, but hey, Fortnite is actually powering everything. And funny enough, Epic Games has given away Bethesda games more than once, but no Bethesda games yet. But the games that are free that you can get right now as of this recording until May 16th, there's 2 games. One of them is called Circus Electrocue, and another one is actually, I had to look into this, is called Firestone Free Offer. So that is, you want to explain it? Did you look at it?
I did. I actually just downloaded it.
Okay.
You have to get the free game Firestone.
Yes.
First. And then this is like an extra outfit pack for it.
Yes, outfit pack. Apparently it was valued at $100 at some point. Normal price for this was $99.99. The base game was free. I think this is like a free-to-play game. And then you get this to go along with it, and then you just have fun with it, whatever. But yeah, this apparently is $99.99. So if you was to go back and look at it on the 17th, it would probably be showing at $100. I don't know too much about the game. Just go figure it out. It is free. Remember, if you don't have a PC, you just need to create a profile. You don't have to put any credit card information on there. Use any old gaming tag that you had, or create a new one, whatever. And once you do get a PC or get any handheld, like the ROG Ally, that's what I always recommend. Once you log in, everything will be there, right? Speaking of which, it's rumors now that we might see a announcement about a Rogue Ally 2 this summer at one of the shows. That's a rumor. I'm not too sure. Me and my co-host is probably going to watch every show anyway and just look out for it somewhere. That's a rumor right now. Also, what I can confirm is that little device called the PlayStation Portal that was like apparently sold out everywhere forever for some reason right now is actually available everywhere online, not in stores, but online. You can get it under PlayStation Direct and get it under Best Buy, and I believe you can get it under Amazon. Amazon, you might be a little tricky, but it quietly is back in stock, but we have not heard really too much about this at all. But it is there if anybody really does want that system. The other Epic game has not been identified. They're back to doing this mystery thing, which they haven't done in a while. They usually do that in a holiday season, but maybe the next game is going to be a really nice game, but it's set to be unveiled on May 16th. Right now it's sitting there with like the little mystery vault on it. It's called Mystery Game. That's it. So
I think you give it too much credit. I think they just don't know what to put out.
Probably. That might be it. But yeah, so that's what's happening right now. As far as the update goes with retail stores, the sales that I've been seeing before is pretty much the same. They're just kind of just trying to liquidate whatever they have, but their prices are still the same as before. If you still was one of those people looking for AEW Fight Forever, and you don't think it's worth real money, that is still showing in a lot of Walmarts for $10 if you can find one. I did see that. And then a game that I got to give my co-host Lords of the Fallen normally is $70 everywhere, and then $60 on sale in a couple places. In Walmart, that was $20. It's still $20 from what I saw. Another game that I didn't buy that I think I am going to buy was the Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. I think I got the first one through PS Plus. I don't have the second one. The second one is showing us $20 in there as well, and it's all physical games. Everything else, Armor Core I saw at 30. If anybody's wondering about that, all of this stuff is brand new. Go to Walmart and you'll be able to find it. If you go anywhere else, you're going to see regular prices, right? Because it's not even the holiday season. But they're still actively putting new games in the stores, physical copies. So Stellar Blade I saw show up. They have a crazy amount of Suicide Squads. I think they really, you know what? It's kind of funny. I think they're the people who are in the like the warehouses or something. Like they're really out of touch in a way. You know how we used to say like Vince McMahon was out of touch forever. I think because they really overshot it when it came to Suicide Squads. That bad boy, like I'm really waiting for that one to go on sale, like to try it out.
I want it when it's on sale.
Yeah,
that's the DC guy. Like I am a DC fanboy, and I don't even want to try it.
That one looked like it's packed out like AEW game was. Like I'm thinking that one might be the next $20 or $10 game eventually, because they have like multiple rows of that, like all the way stacked back.
Yeah, because nobody wanted it because they screwed up.
Yeah, and maybe it was because of the DC stuff, the Batman stuff, Superman stuff, that they thought it would probably sell.
Oh yeah, for sure. But and if it wasn't a multiplayer shooter that was repetitive, it would have sold. Like there was so many ways where this should have been a seller, and it wasn't because of every decision they chose. I can go on about that. I don't need to go on about that right now.
The industry has just been making some crazy stuff. It's just stupid. Like it's stupid across the board. It really is, because that was one of the games where they were going for the Fortnite thing.
Yep.
And
well, should I talk about how PlayStation's been stupid?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. I could probably set you up for it because the next thing I think I want to mention, which will probably be a bigger topic, which is probably the topic I think you're going into. It was a big topic technically last week, but I think we released our episode and then it became a deal. And then by the time we got to here, or now, like they've like moonwalked it, right? So we're talking about Helldivers 2. Out of nowhere, they were just like, on the PC side, you need to have a PSN account to play it.
Yeah, you need to have that link to your Steam account.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was just for like some trophy support or something.
It was trophy support and to boost their PlayStation Network numbers, things like that. But and because if you're acting up, they can keep track of you through your PlayStation Network, where they can't through Steam.
Right.
But it was overall, they just did that. They wanted to require you to have a PlayStation Network account. Now, here's the problems with that. One, they get hacked a lot. Like, as much as like PlayStation, they get hacked a lot, and people didn't want Steam linked to something that gets hacked a lot because they can lose their whole Steam account as well. Right? It wasn't like it's like if you're gonna have both, you have to have them linked together, and then if one gets taken down, there goes your other one. Like that, so people weren't willing to do that. Two, the bigger issue. There's still 121 countries that just can't access PlayStation Network.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, it's not in a lot of countries, especially a lot of Africa. But like a lot of Africa. But and the Dominican Republic. Like there's a lot of places, Jamaica, etc., that they don't have PlayStation Network, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't have a PlayStation Network account, you just don't get to play. Like when they were doing it, it was just they were able to play because it was through Steam and they could have a Steam account. And then they said that when they introduced this, people would have to use a VPN to pretend like they were in a different country so they could make a PlayStation Network account. However, then trying to link that to their Steam account, it's like, hold on, like your PlayStation Network account was made in Canada, but your Steam account is from Jamaica. What are you doing here? And then it would cause other issues and start messing up their Steam. So it was almost like they would have to use a VPN to make a separate account, both from Canada, in order to be able to play a game that they bought rightfully because they had a Steam account, just because of a last minute requirement that wasn't there before. So PlayStation backpedaled. And I think
Yes.
that was the main reason, right? Because then they would have to refund people. And, they
Hmm.
don't like the refund.
Yeah, they
But they
never
would
do.
have to refund if these 121 countries can't play it anymore because of that. However, they have already announced the Ghost of Tsushima Legends thing, the multiplayer part. You need a
Yes.
PSN account.
Yes. I
So
remember seeing that.
as of now, those people in the 121 countries there, for sure, and anybody else who doesn't want to make a PlayStation Network account, they can only access the story mode offline. They cannot do the online multiplayer with
You know what's funny? You know what I want to say? We officially can't blame Jim Ryan.
it. Yeah.
We officially can't. They can't. They can't even shield themselves and say, "Oh, these are all Jim Ryan decisions." Because you remember how, like, like with WWE, I keep making WWE references. Like at one point, it seemed like everything was just putting blame on Vince. Like, oh, that was Vince. That was Vince. That was Vince. It
Yeah.
just kind of seemed that way. It seems like that right now. Where it's like with PlayStation, it's like for a split second they probably could have just been like, oh, but we're new management now, kind of play it off in a way, so they could
Uh-huh.
take the heat off of them. But now they're still having some bad news. It's like
Yep.
the bad news is still there
No,
even though he's
bro,
gone.
the countries that can't access PlayStation Network, it's not
Hmm.
like you've never heard of it before. Small countries that is like, well, you don't get access, but you also don't have internet. Like it's not like one of those.
Yeah,
Uh, like it's straight up like, all of Afghanistan, the Bahamas, Barbados, like Bosnia, Bolivia, Dominican Republic, the
yeah.
Democratic Republic of Congo, uh, Fiji, like Jamaica, Jordan, Iran, Iraq, Haiti, Ghana, like Cuba,
So
just all of Cuba.
what's
Like
crazy is
these are
that it
major
sounds like they
places
didn't think that through either.
at all.
Like
And
they
it's just like
didn't.
all of these people can have Steam accounts, and it was just like gone. Like, sorry, you can't play the game anymore. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just it's strange because it's just like we're talking about big multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar entities that's all been here since we were in elementary school.
yep,
And they're making decisions where it's like, I don't have to be the smartest person in the book, or the smartest person in the room. What did I say? The book, the smartest person in the room, but I can understand some common sense to an extent where it's just like, I wouldn't do this for X, Y, and Z reason.
but also, and then the other thing though is why. Like, even though I
Yeah,
mentioned like it was like you can like control accounts and control cheaters, so can Steam. So the real question really is why?
yeah,
Why do they like? If you were able to go this far without them requiring one, why do they just all of a sudden now just need one? Like, and if you try to
yeah,
say it's come from the trophy support, well, what if the person just doesn't want trophies? What if they don't
yeah.
care? Like, it's just it's like why now? Do you just all of a sudden? Because that is a poor reason. You can no longer play our game because you can't unlock trophies.
Right.
So that was weird. But do you have anything else for this? Because I do have some other PlayStation news.
Um, the only thing I can say is like, it seems like negative talk has been going for Xbox and PlayStation. And I said this before already, but Nintendo hasn't really had too many bad
Suing people.
news outside of like, them suing people, right?
Yep.
But it hasn't really hurt the player base in a way. It's just like they're just kind of suing people who's trying to hurt the player base. The thing about it is, like, the only thing bad that could come out is if we find out the Switch 2 is underpowered, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a 50-50, or maybe you could say 75% chance that it is going to be underpowered. right? But the thing is, the way it's going to be, like, the perception of that by the fan base is like, that's probably not even going to be considered bad news to certain people. And it's like the news that we're hearing from Xbox and PlayStation on a consistent basis, I think is still worse
Oh yeah.
than than the news of the hardware.
Like, even if you say, well, they released the Switch 2, that is still not as strong as it should be.
Yeah.
From their end, they technically only really need to release something stronger.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it does better than the Switch, they've done their end. Technically, it's just not what most consumers would consider good. But then still the primary fan base will still be okay with it, like you said.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's not like, we can be judgmental, but they're
Yeah.
not actively still doing stuff that does hurt their game, like their fan base.
I think the fan base is expecting the system to be somewhat underpowered compared to the Series X and the PS5 for sure.
Oh yeah.
What I'm hoping is that at the very least is more powerful than the other handhelds.
And
That
again, as much as we want that, technically, again, as long as it's stronger than the Switch 1,
yeah. Now,
they
I
can
don't think
they
it's
can
going to
do
be as
that.
strong as like the Lenovo and the ROG. I do think that by default, even they can kind of be a little aware of this. It has to at least match the Steam Deck. Like, I feel like there's no way they can come out with another system that's like lower quality than the Steam Deck. Because the Steam Deck, to get its existence to like be useless to a whole demographic is to literally come out with your system to match its power.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was, oh, let's play something on a more powerful handheld. That was like half of its marketing, and Nintendo was furious over that, obviously. But it's like the most basic like step is the most basic step to solving that problem is to come out with something that at the very least it matches it. Even if it's not going to be more powerful than it, it has to match it. But if they're too busy still trying to make sure it's at the $300 price point, I mean, they may not be able to do that. But the thing is, everybody's going to buy it anyway. Everybody's still going to buy that next Mario and stuff. I don't think I would pre-order, but I'll definitely still buy one. I will still buy one for sure. But yeah, the PlayStation news, I don't have anything else really to say.
So,
But
okay. I was going to say, well, the other thing is
yeah,
Steam users don't want to make a PlayStation Network account.
yeah,
There's also some PlayStation users that just don't want Steam to have it all together.
of course.
So there's a petition.
Oh yeah.
And I laugh at some of these things, but it's to stop Sony from porting more PlayStation games to PC. My thing is, so it says it requires 500 signatures. And in my head, it's like,
that's nobody.
even
really.
if you make it to 500 signatures, I don't think PlayStation will be like, well, we can't do it anymore. Like, I don't know what 500 does, but they're arguing like, I mean, technically, you can kind of argue false advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
If you say like the only way to play these games is on PlayStation, and everything's touted as a PlayStation exclusive, and then now it's not.
Yeah.
You can kind of argue that, but I don't know. I just think it's funny that they're really trying to like fight it from going elsewhere.
Yeah, I thought that was funny when I saw
But
it.
getting excited about like Hi-Fi Rush and stuff. I think that was the combination that made me laugh. Like 4 Xbox games come to PlayStation, and it's like, yes, like we get to play these. But then if the PlayStation games goes to PC, it's like, well, no, that's not fair. It's ours.
You know what I think? You know how people was teasing that maybe GTA 6 might be the first $100 game they might try to go for it.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they might can get away with it. And honestly, GTA 6 is the one game that probably could.
Yep.
The way the industry is acting, it's almost like they want to charge double that for every game. Like, and it's not even for the base game, I feel like the industry wish they could charge 200, and they wish they could charge it for the base game, and expect DLC and microtransactions. I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like that's just their attitude. It just seems that way.
Well, I mean, what about that whole mention when they said people should tip developers because of the work they have to put in post game? Where for one, we shouldn't the developers shouldn't have to really work post game if they were release, if they could release something that worked, or if they were given enough time to release something that worked. But two, the tipping culture, that like saying that we should tip them,
Yeah,
also it means they wouldn't have to pay them properly. Like you
yeah.
can underpay them because then you're expecting the tips to make up for it instead. So, like they're all trash. Of course, they would want to charge $200 per game.
It just
They want
seems like
all
that's
of the
what they
money.
want. Yeah. It's strange just where the industry is right now because I mean I'm beating it. It's basically beating a dead horse at this point. It's just everybody they want to make a certain amount of money that I honestly believe the customer just doesn't have. You know,
Yep.
like right now, if we just look at the $70 games that came out this year, there had to been at least like 4 or 5, right? That were big titles, but they're like $70 each, and we're like 5 months in. It's like I don't think the average gamer would, even if they could afford it, they just don't want to give the industry $70 every month. You know what I mean? Like there would have been enough. Like if you
Yeah.
had all the systems and stuff, there would have been enough releases each month now that would have been $60 or $70 for each month from January to now. It's just like the player base is just not going to do it. You know, they're just not
Yeah.
going to do it. And some people just want to be a part of the conversation at the moment. They just want to ride the wave, because there's also what I've been seeing with like Stellar Blade, for example, where people are so caught up in how that girl looked that they kind of forget it's a Souls-like game, and they're like caught off guard a little bit. That like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I gotta actually play this. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, you gotta actually do something now. Congratulations, good luck, right?
Well, one of my issues, and I'm just kind of like I've been thinking about it with these like the higher ups and everything, and what they're like these studios are producing.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to buy all of their games, but they also want you to spend Fortnite hours
Yeah,
in a game, and it's like, well, which one do you want? Like that's what I'm trying. It's like, do you want us to get all of your games, or do you want us to have one game that we spend all of our time with?
yeah,
And it's like I'm confused, like where we're going here. Like, what exactly do you want? And
right.
sometimes I always wonder, like, why isn't it enough? Like, how much did Hi-Fi Rush cost on release?
So on the PC side, it was $30 on Steam, and you actively will see like little sales where it goes to
Yeah,
26.99. I
but
do
did they sell
believe,
like 2-3 million copies or
yeah,
something
they
like
did.
that?
They still did really good for what it
So it's
was.
just like 3 million copies, $30 each, right? That's
Yeah.
like nine. What is that? 900 million or
I don't know. I know they
90 million?
something like it's somewhere up in there, and then you got
Ninety
to pay
million.
everybody and all of that stuff. I
But like,
know it's
why
just
isn't 90 million enough? Like, because I guarantee there's a lot of people in there that's getting paid that didn't do anything, right? Those higher
yeah.
up that didn't do anything,
I
and it's
think the
like if we
bottom
remove
line though,
them,
the bottom line though is because I think I said this before. No matter what game that they put out, it was never going to match the money that they spend on an acquisition. That's probably going to be the big thing.
yeah,
The acquisition, because Activision was 70 billion. That was still a really really big one. But if you really look at Bethesda in itself, I think Bethesda was like 7 point something billion, which is still a big one in itself. But it's like no game that they were putting out was going to do 7 billion. Like I don't even think Starfield did 7 billion. Like it did enough, but I don't think it did 7 billion. You know what I mean? It didn't do 7 billion. Like no, like the highest of
No
high
one
games.
told them to spend 7 billion.
Yeah. Since we're technically back on the Xbox topic for a split second, there is one thing that I didn't mention that I think I should mention. For the argument that's coming from the console war side, where they're saying, well, Xbox players should be it's their fault because they don't buy games. They either buy Game Pass or don't buy games, right? Honestly, I can kind of see where the argument is. The problem with it though is that's literally Microsoft's marketing. I can honestly say, now this is coming from somebody who does game on Xbox. Like somebody please show me one graphic, one marketing tool where they showed you this generation 2020 till now where they told you to buy a game. Literally they told you to get Game Pass the entire time. They never threw the full price point for any game out there on any graphic. They said play it day one on Game Pass. It's like, so when they sit there, like if we was to give the argument certain games didn't make enough sales, the system itself, sales are really, really down in this past month or something like that. It's like they literally told you get Game Pass and you could play on PC day one.
Uh-huh.
So it's like how, like I could understand if they didn't tell you that. It was like, how do you punish your own studios or put the blame on the fan base when you were told to do that and you knew ahead of time that your sales was going to be diversified in some shape or form because you were going to put it on different platforms? You know what I mean? It's like, how could that be the developer's fault? How could that be my fault?
Yeah. Well, so I was just doing this other thing, and this is where I also get bothered by this stuff. And I know part of the issue is because they're trying to recuperate that billions, right? Those billions.
Yeah.
Now, again, I know this isn't like the fully how it works. So with that, again, not being a business major, not knowing how this fully works, Tango GameWorks had 65 employees in 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that's what worked on Hi-Fi Rush was 65 people. Because they were a smaller studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, if they were paid $60,000 a year to keep working on that game, the game entered production in 2018 and released in 2023, right?
Yeah.
If they were all paid $65,000 a year, that would have came out to just above $19 million that would have been spent to get this game going, right? For just paying the people to do stuff. Now, the game comes out costing $30 and it sells 3 million units. That's $90 million. So if we subtract the two, that leaves over $70 million still, right? That some of that, of course, would have been used for advertising the game, right? Other polishing stuff that they may have had to spend, or equipment and stuff that they needed to buy. But I'm still imagining there's still enough money in there to also pay some of these higher up people. So it's why wasn't 3 million sold for this type of game enough? Or even if they had more than 65 workers, if we bumped that up to 100 workers, there's still about 50-40 million just floating, right? Again, I don't know full business stuff, and some of that probably taxes and all that other crap, but I feel like there's enough money left over that this should have been considered a success. So this game should have been considered a success. So why is the studio closed?
Yeah, the big thing for it though is just their reputation is at stake. Some of the layoffs, the layoffs were still bad, but not taken away from it at all. But the thing is, whenever I saw some of the layoffs that we were talking about, I think one of them was 600 people. It's 600 people is one building in one state somewhere, in one city is very, very small in the grand scheme of things. But the problem is every YouTuber, every publication, website, a lot of people were reporting on it. It's it's just 600 people, right? My building that I'm in is around that. You know what I'm saying? like a faculty building is like around that size, right? It's like, but the reputation that stretched across all of gaming, it wasn't just the US. I'm pretty sure people in their native tongues and stuff who all run their podcasts and everything, somebody has something to say about each layoff at each building. It's like the people gotta make better decisions for their reputation's sake, because something like this could quite literally derail their momentum that's going to be coming from their June show in 1 month, because they might show some cool stuff, but there's going to be somebody who's going to say, yeah, but I don't trust you telling me about the DLC. I don't trust that the studio is going to stay open. I don't trust even going to the platform to begin with, because it's probably going to end up on the platform that I'm on right now, right? It's like they're going to say that throughout the entire June show, and it's Microsoft's fault at the end of the day. They created that reputation because they could not give you a concrete messaging. Like, say what you want about Nintendo, I think everybody understand, like at all ages, they understand where they're supposed to get a Nintendo game. There's no, like, it's to the point where it's like Nintendo is actively trying to eliminate the emulation side of things completely, like as we speak, right? It's like, it's cut and clear. It is cut dry and clear. You need a Nintendo system, period. I don't care how bad the graphics is or something. I don't care how bad the optimization is or the frame rate, or if it's the same old. It doesn't matter. You need their system. It's probably going to have terrible Joy-Con drift. It's probably going to be underpowered. And you know this, and it ain't nothing you can do about it, because our lawyers is better than your lawyers, right? We can just break all kind of rules to do what we got to do to protect our brand. Xbox is not doing nowhere near the same. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not even so much about them like shutting down the options. It doesn't look like they're trying to actively protect the brand. That's the thing. It looks like they're just like, here it is, enjoy. Yep. That's kind of what it is. It's not I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Let me address one thing, then we could probably just move forward. Me being the bad YouTuber that I am, I let the whole footage of Resident Evil 2 gameplay, like a little boss fight that I kind of struggled with on my first playthrough. I let that whole footage go by without talking about one piece of positive news that I had here. And I guess I'll just talk about it now because I'm that bad of a YouTuber. There was some rumors and speculation about Resident Evil 9 that is going to be the next Resident Evil project that's going to be released. I think afterwards you might see a Resident Evil 5 remake, but it looks like they're going remake the next one in line, then remake the next one in line. That's their formula. So yeah, we're going to get the latest one at some point, but the rumor is that somewhere in one of these June shows, Capcom does a June show, they might unveil it there, right? And what we know about it is that it's supposed to be fully open world. Not like open castle, open area, but like almost like Days Gone in a way. That's what people are saying. It's gonna be kind of like open, where you can just kind of go over. So that's something that's kind of new to Resident Evil. But they kind of did everything else. You had your first person, you had your third person, right? You had zombies, wolves, all kind of stuff. And then, indigenous people, I guess. The controversy, but they've never been fully open world, right? So that's something that they're saying. That's kind of like a news point in a way. But I just want to also mention, because in comparison, I don't think anybody else was talking about this really. No pun intended, but Silent Hill 2's remake has gone completely silent. There's not hardly any news about this whatsoever. According to the internet, it's still supposed to be released this year. But yeah, Silent 2 has no buzz whatsoever. All horror buzz has been really with Island Wake 2 at one point, and then now back to Resident Evil as it should be. But on paper, at least, we should still see Silent Hill 2's remake at some point. At some point. But you're gonna hear about I do think this is probably gonna come to fruition. You're gonna see Resident Evil 9 at the June showcase, and it's probably going to be set with the release date this upcoming October. That's usually how they've been doing all the other ones. So I do believe that. I can't say it's a fact, but the stars are aligned for that. The other thing, I don't think it's really a news story, but I think it recently came out that Nintendo was saying that they were going to unveil the Switch 2. It's not going to be released, but unveil it. I think March 2025. Did you see this? It was like a year later than what I expected. I guess my unreleased video that I was going to redo. I said, oh, they're gonna talk about it April 2024, and now April came and went. So I'm kind of glad I didn't release that. But people are saying no, it's actually gonna be March 2025, and so we're gonna keep getting more of the regular Switch this year. And you'll see Switch 2 probably next year. I'm actually happy about that a little bit, because that sounds like to me maybe, just maybe, they're rethinking the hardware and trying to make it better. Maybe. If that's the case, by all means, take another year. I'll be fine. Take another year. I would rather have better hardware that is going to last the next 6-7 years than you rush it out and the hardware is not as good. And then we stuck with it, and if we don't want to deal with it, then we get sued, right? But what we do know about it is that they're aiming for 4K 60 FPS when it's docked, and 1080p when it's not docked, possibly still 60 FPS. That's the gist of it. I think I heard rumors also that they wanted Joy-Cons to be magnetic, I guess, instead of just sliding. I don't know, I guess if people really want it that way, but that's just also rumors. Like, people could be lying about that part. I don't even know. I don't know, but that's just the rumors of it right now. But I guess we'll see when it's ready. But I guess all those extra games I was talking about before, a possible Mario Kart 9, Odyssey 2, etc., you probably just wouldn't see it for a while. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. Make sure that hardware is on point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost done. Technically, so Remnant 2 is on the screen. That was supposed to be our overtime stuff. So I think we're running on around 15 more minutes. But we only had like one more thing which came from you. So you want to...
Yeah, I gotta take a look.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the X-Men 97 series has been great. We got one more episode left for the season. I don't know if it's season or series. But there's an Airbnb in Westchester County, New York. Where they redesigned their little mansion to look like the X Mansion.
Oh,
so
cool.
You can book a stay. It was like $97 per night per person.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a 4-bedroom place where you can have Jubilee's room, Wolverine's room, Beast's lab, and the Danger room. So you can also reenact that meme of Wolverine with the like photo of Jean and Scott as he like rubs the case of it. Like you can reenact that meme and all that stuff, but you have to book soon. Like basically it's everybody, because of course a lot of people are trying to book it to do it.
Of course.
And then they're just gonna pick at random who gets to stay. But they're also gonna be doing also day tours.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess on different days when people aren't staying, they'll do like a 2-hour thing where a bunch of people can tour it and see it. And then they'll have the official stays. And yeah, so they're doing X-Men 97.
It's interesting that they did the price that way to match the like the name and everything.
Yeah.
Because you could argue they could have charged way more. or
Oh, and
something like
most
that.
Airbnbs do. That was the surprising
Yeah,
part because there's a lot of Airbnbs that is like 150 per person. Like, I think so. They just did it with 97.
yeah, yeah.
Also,
That's
turns
awesome.
out they will be redesigning it like constantly throughout the year. So apparently they did or will be doing. I couldn't find which one it was, but I saw a mention of it. It was designed like Barbie's dream house, so everything was like pink, and then they redesigned it with some other show as well. So it seems like they just do themed stuff at this Airbnb.
Mm, okay. All right. Well, I guess we were wrapping it up. It sucks because like the boss fight is just going on. Maybe we could stall a little bit. I can stall a little bit. Let's watch this boss fight. We can stall about 5 minutes. But
This was the
I
bloat king.
yeah, I do want to mention a couple of things for anybody who made it this far. The one or two of you who rock with us from the very beginning. I appreciate you. Because now we're kind of recording this during the work week. Co-host has a big morning. I have a big morning, and it's not even really that late yet, but still, I appreciate it because we got lives. We got lives. We don't get to Twitter. We don't get to do the spaces and do all that other stuff. What you get right here is literally what you would get until next week. But I do want to give an update on a couple things. You saw my Bloodborne footage earlier on. I didn't really say anything else about that, but for the game, it's back to business as usual for me. I haven't had any crashes or any like stutters or anything. So it's the second week where it's like that on the PS4. So if anybody remembered or has been following along, I basically said do not play that on the PS5. If they come out with some sort of like upgrade or something, if they actually do it, then yeah, play that on the PS5. But the PS4 version, definitely just play it on the PS4. You won't have no issues. Now it's back to being a regular Souls game where I got to figure out how to beat the next boss, right? So it's back the way it's supposed to be.
Well, that's
I
good.
will show more footage and stuff as time goes on. It's not gonna be every week, but it'll be like every now and then. So there's that. I do want to mention my PC. I'm trying to get a very expensive PC. I picked another one out that's actually a black case one. I originally wanted a white case one, but they have better builds with the black case ones, and there's like way more black case ones than there is white cases. So I'm
You
like,
can
you know
always
what?
buy a white case and put everything in it.
Yeah, but then I had to take it all back apart and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not that big of a deal. Like I could put stickers on it and stuff, right? But my only issue with that right now, I haven't had a time to like call. I'm trying to like get a pre-built from Newegg, and I haven't had a chance to call them. But according to their website, they don't deliver on Saturdays, and they want you to be somebody to be at home and to sign for it. Now, don't
Makes
get me
sense.
wrong. I don't want to have them leave something like that on my doorstep, right? But my problem right now is that I'm not able to be at home at the time that they would like. If I had bought it like maybe a couple months ago, I probably would have been. But that's okay. I'm just trying to figure that out. I didn't call them yet because I had to do this, but I'm probably gonna call them tomorrow to figure that out because I'm technically good to go to get it. It's just that's the new hurdle, right? If for some reason I'm not able to do it that way, I might end up going to a place like Micro Center. I think there's like one Micro Center per state, but I'm gonna go to one of those places as a
Yeah.
backup. Possibly have to pay a lot more. And I'm hoping I wouldn't have to, but that might be what I would have to do. Then I would have to maybe like wait a little bit longer. But that's my issue with that. Once that happens, though, the recording process is going to be so much more streamlined. I won't have to like wait for things to render like this, for example. I literally set this up where it uploads while I sleep, and I write all the details literally in the morning. If anybody ever wanted to know that, that was like an ongoing thing because it takes so long to do. And I heard that's also based on like PC limitations and stuff. And so that machine would not have to, I wouldn't have to worry about that at all because it will have a 4090 in it. and all of the specs and stuff that come around the 4090 build.
Hey.
So yeah, I'm gonna do that and then go back to paying bills the following month. That's the plan. That's the plan. So yeah, that's what I'm rocking with on that side. Other than that, I am still technically playing Persona 4 Golden, but I kind of just haven't been touching it because of Bloodborne. You know, I've been playing Bloodborne more. I plan to play more PlayStation Plus games and after that. Kind of at the same time too, because there's still Plague Tale that I was playing. And I plan to also renew the PlayStation Plus for just 1 year. I'm gonna let it lapse first because I found out that discount you got is when you let it lapse. For anybody who wants to know, if you try to go in there with an active subscription, they're gonna make you pay full price. They do the discount, which really ain't that much. I think it was what $60 that they did for you. That's because they try to get you back in. It's almost like what cable does, right? Don't cable do that? Like,
Yep.
So they're taking that same approach. So hold out, let it lapse for a week.
Oh, yeah, mine did it in a day.
In a day, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, probably a day. And then you can get the thing for like a little bit cheaper. So that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm not set to lapse until like December, I believe.
Okay.
Me and my co-host were technically playing Borderlands 3. We started it and just stopped. we'll get back to that. Yeah. We want to play that. Then we wanted to play Lords of the Fallen.
Yep.
And I forgot what that little game is, but I downloaded it. That one game you told me to download.
Castle Crashers.
Yeah, $3 game.
Which
that
is like,
game.
It is a side-scrolling Dark Souls. I forgot how hard that game was. I was playing it the other day. Oh, I forgot how hard that game was. Oh man. But it's good. It's fun. It's just a lot of boss fights I had to redo over and over. So that was fun. I've currently been playing Marvel's Midnight Suns. I am on the last main story mission, so I'm about to run through the DLC before the last mission, just so when I do the last mission, I'm just done. Like I think you can do the DLC post game, but they introduced the DLC if you like got it while you're playing, throughout the story, and I've kind of been holding it off. So I'm gonna play through that. That should be fun. And then I still got like 3 chapters left for Assassin's Creed 3, bringing that one back. And then after that, my life goes to either Persona 4 Golden or Baldur's Gate 3, one of the two. Probably it's gonna be Baldur's Gate 3, and that's just gonna be life for like the rest of the summer and beyond.
Anybody out there looking to play Persona 4, I think it looks its best on PC handheld. You probably could play it on Switch if you have that. If you don't have a PC handheld,
I have it on PlayStation.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I would recommend playing it through the portal, but I think it looks better in handheld form.
Probably.
It looks better that way. But I wouldn't tell nobody go get the portal because of that. But funny enough,
this part was trash. I just want to point out real quick on the screen where I was down to then every single blast just came at me like trash.
But I think the people get the gist of this boss fight. So we could probably wrap it up here at like the last 25% of it. We went longer than I thought we were gonna do, but that's all right. Any last words before we wrap this up, man?
No, I guess trying to find some joy in some gaming because a lot of it is negative.
I'm still hyping up the June shows almost like if it's like gaming WrestleMania in a way, because it kind of is in a way, like just do a bunch of it at one time. I'm hoping there's enough gems throughout all of the shows to, at least add a lot of stuff to the wish list. At the very least,
nice.
There should be something you could pull out from everything that's like, this is good. I can't wait to play this. Some of the games from the last set of shows, from last year have come out, and some of them are decent, some of them trash. It is what it is, but at the very least, it's like, okay, from the games that didn't suck, that was on your like wish list, like you get something, right? Like there's some of them shows is like they just keep going. It's like I don't even know why this exists. But then some of them is like, you know what, you got something here that's actually good. So because if I remember correctly, I wish list like at least 20 games from like all them shows, and
Sam, I wonder how many of them are going to be re-shown this
yeah,
year.
a few of them will be. There's a couple of them that were at Xbox show from 2021 that I'm still technically waiting for. One of them I think is called Replaced. It looks just like an indie game. Well, I think it is kind of an indie game, but Xbox got it to go on Game Pass. I'm still waiting to see that. Technically, Hellblade 2 is set to come out later on this month. Been looking at that one since like 2019, right? But yeah, I'm looking forward to the shows at least. Because there's usually a lot.
Yeah.
Some of them though, we're still gonna see like cringy skits, especially the PC show. But they do sometimes get some of the actors. Like, didn't they get the Spider-Man actors at one point to
Yep.
do one of the shows? And I think before,
Oh,
um,
maybe they can get some Baldur's Gate 3 people, all the voice actors. They're fun.
yeah, hopefully we get some good surprises and stuff. I don't expect to see anything from PlayStation. I think from the past couple of years, PlayStation would just have a show randomly in August. And Nintendo usually has their show like a few days later in June, so it's like the last show almost. But you're gonna get the Xbox show and the PC game show like back to back on that Sunday. I think the Ubisoft one and the other ones are like somewhere on the Saturday. It's just gonna be so many you're gonna have to try to skim through them. But I think I probably will announce this now, even though I didn't really tell my calls. I think what we probably should do for the format is we should save some. We should do that over like two different shows, and just save some of it for we. I know it'll be late, but I don't think we should just watch 4 episodes in one. I don't know if it's going to be beneficial. And then we might not talk about every game. We're just going to talk about our highlights.
Yeah.
Um,
That part I agree with for sure.
yeah, I think because I think it'll be like maybe we'll cover like half of the event one week, the other half the next week. You know, um,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. And
Bro, so
then
real quick, sorry,
yeah,
I just noticed this from the screen. So from my class, if I do so much damage, I go into berserk mode. I would have killed the bloat king, but he had to pause and go into berserk mode
mm,
automatically, and I gave him enough time to leave.
oh man,
Sorry, but yeah. So I think talk mainly about highlights, like the games we want. Uh, it can be funny maybe to talk about the games that are like definite no's, depending on how
mm-hmm.
bad they look. But for sure, just the games that really got our interest.
Hey,
Yeah.
all right, well we got that, and that wraps this up. I think this is gonna end. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's watched this far or just had us in the background while you do homework or something. And yeah, we will catch you next week. And hopefully it's a little bit more positive. The negativity went probably a little too long on my end. I apologize because we're almost at our old format where it's like 2 hours. So it's 2 in 1 almost. But like, comment, share, subscribe. I will catch you on the next video. Enjoy the beginning of what we're gonna see as a nice hot summer, I believe. And yeah, peace.